What's up? What's up? What's up? It's your boy Danli Divine. I'm here with another episode of Speak Your Truth. I have a very special guest. I mean, all the guests are special, you know. This one is willing to come up and tell his story. Again, with this session of Speak Your Truth, everybody has a voice, and I feel that we all have a story to tell, and using your voice, you can really impact others. I mean, you never know what somebody may be going through, and your story might just be what they need to help push them through or to let them know not to give up, that they can make it through, you know? So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to Steven and have him describe himself, give an introduction, and bless us with his story. Go ahead.
Hey, I appreciate it, brother. Yeah, I'm Steven Thompson. I'm from South Carolina, kind of mid state, Orangeburg. In law enforcement, got different things that I guess I've faced some different battles through life with, from interracial relationships, law enforcement, country boy, looked down upon by both sides, white, black, just where I'm from. It back when I was younger, it wasn't good. So I got good many different stories and different things. Hopefully, I can do like you want and help somebody through their hard times. And maybe my story.
Yeah, I'm sure you definitely can help somebody because, like you said, you have a lot of stories, and you don't have to tell just one. I mean, right now we'll go through one, but I mean, in time you can give as many as you want because the more the merrier. Again, each one teach one. You can reach as many as you want and as many as possible. That's the main thing with this podcast, with this platform.
I appreciate that, bro. Let's see, I don't even know where to start.
Do whatever you feel comfortable with.
All right, well, I'll start it off. Grew up loved but poor. When I was a little boy, it was just me. I was supposed to be a twin. My twin passed before we were born, so kind of, I don't know. I guess I kind of got a part of me that's been missing ever since birth. Grew up, like I said, a little small community at the time, Cordova. Is where I was lived on some family property. Different family members had mobile homes with my grandmother and grandfather. They were up in the front of the property. Basically, I didn't have any other, like I said, siblings. It was by
Hmm.
myself. Even so much to where I created my own imaginary friend. I called him Mr. Nobody. Me and him used to play together. But yeah, man, it's weird. It's weird, but I don't really remember too much about it. But my mom and dad always would tell me the stories. But um, like I said, grew up there, loved by my family. I mean, I was the first grandson on both sides of the family, and so was loved by my family. At a very young age, like I said, it was family property, and I'll go through this. Not many people know this story, but I guess it's kind of where I felt to be led for this story to tell today. Older cousins. There was one. I'm not even sure exactly how much older he is, but I was molested. I was molested. He had me think it was a game, and I couldn't have been no more than, I don't know, 5, 4. I think it was, no, I was younger than that. I was 4. My grandfather died, so I remember it was 3 or 4. It could have been right before my grandfather died. But I remember he always told me, don't tell nobody. Can't tell nobody. I think my mom kind of got the feeling that something was going on because I remember she asked. And I remember I told her just what he told me to say. No, nothing happened. And then I remember I went to him and told him, I was like, they asked, and I said nothing happened. Well, luckily, my mom, she she knew I was lying. She knew there was something going on. She just had that feeling as a young mother, because my mom at that time she would only been about 23 maybe, and she actually followed and listened, which didn't realize. So she heard me telling him this, at which point she was able to stop the situation from happening.
Okay.
Uh, as a family, I think he ended up getting shipped off, and I don't know exactly. I don't remember everything that happened, but I just remember they were able to. He was gone. So like I said, at that young of an age, I was molested, and if it wouldn't have been for people trying to look out, and that's something we don't have these days, man. It, in my line of work,
Yes.
that's one of the hardest things I have to deal with now is when you got children that's being molested and you find it, man. It makes me want to be an executioner at times when you
The
get,
Punisher.
yeah, but I can't do that. So I can get
Hmm.
the best way I can. And, but I feel that that's just kind of like something it's one of my convictions, I want to, I want to help kids. I think that's one of the main reasons I got into law enforcement. And like I said, just a lot of people don't know that story. I don't even know if my mom and dad. Well, my mom passed away, but I don't even know if my dad knows I remember that, honestly, because I was so young. But I remember back in when I was 2 and 3 years old. I do got those are my early memories, and it just I know that there's other people out there that probably are holding things like that in, and even when they were younger and older than I was, these are memories and feelings and the way it plays on the mind throughout life. I mean, I took the right path. I know some people take the wrong path. That childhood leads them down
Yes.
the road and causes the drug addictions, the alcoholism, even cause them to end up becoming offenders for different things, whether it's selling their bodies and just you know it ruins them. Where like I said, with me, I feel it's because of my protection from that my mom provided and my father provided. Like I said, we was poor, so my dad worked all the time. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, but so my mom was kind of like more of my protector. But I feel that protection and she was able to stop it before it went too far, before it carried on too long.
Hmm.
And a lot of people don't have that, especially when it comes to these kids that's in the foster system and they're going in and out of home after home after home, and who knows what's happening to them out there. And, and
Thanks.
that's why it's like a repeat. It's just like a repeating cycle constantly. And, I try to always talk with people and explain to them, y'all can break the cycle. Only y'all are able to break the cycle. And I just hope that the message can help somebody. And sorry, man, it's been almost
It's
6.
okay.
Yeah, it's been 6 months since my mom passed, and I think that's why a lot of this stuff's kind of come up in me, because my mom's always been there for me.
Yeah. My condolences.
I appreciate it, brother. And then too, also another thing with my line of work, that's something else we don't like to talk about. We don't, you know, everybody wants to see a cop as being someone that's strong and
Yeah. And I mean,
yeah,
that's the same thing they expect with like
you know,
military as well.
military man, but and that's something a lot of
That's
people. We're whether you're military, law enforcement, we might be trained killers in the military and protectors, but still,
facts on facts. Like we go through things ourselves, but we have to sit here and try and look like a superhero to everybody else as if nothing affects us at all. And I'm like, a lot of military and first responders have so much, but they don't really feel like they have anyone that they can talk to about it because everybody who's really around them, it might not even people who aren't really even close to them, but it's like they have to kind of put on this mask that everything is good with them because they're in a position and the face of protection.
yeah, exactly, and that's like when I graduated from the police academy.
Mhm.
That's been 20 plus years ago. Um,
You ain't
that
that old.
no, hey, I've been in law enforcement for 23 years now, and
Oh, damn.
I was a first responder, firefighter, first responder, working with EMS, everything else for longer than that. It's been since the mid to late '90s. I've been
Mhm.
in work. So
Well, shoot, big up yourself. I know
yeah,
that's a taxing career.
yeah, man. So, but you know, my my academy class, that was our motto, is showtime,
Hmm.
because uh, you got to go out basically just like you're on a stage. You got to be portray these characters that you might not be. You might have something that's tearing you apart, but you got to be strong. You might have the the biggest piece of shit explaining to you why they did what they did, and you gotta kind of act like you know where they're coming from, because you don't want to shut them down if they're talking to you.
Yeah.
One of the hardest things I ever had was a guy one time explaining to me how a 3-year-old seduced him because of how she was smiling at him. And it's like, dude, she's 3.
Wow.
She's 3. But everything in my mind's like, hey, just pull out your gun and put it in his mouth. But you can't do that. You can't.
Yeah, you can't. You
You
can't.
just you're sworn to uphold that Constitution, and the part of me wanted to do that, but the machine inside of me, like everybody says, we're supposed to be robots. It says you
Mm.
can't. You got to stand strong. You got to, this is what you must do. The programming, I guess, kind of it. Yeah, it. Like I said, so every day I go to work dealing with that. You're battling different sides. Yes, it kind of tears you apart. Like you said, we deal with so much military, law enforcement, see so much first responders, that you try to stuff it away in that little box. All the that you deal with, all the that you see, all the pain that you take in, you shove it in that little box so that it don't show. Um,
Yeah.
and then that's on top of all the that you have is like in your life. Your personal that you've already dealt with over the years, or you might be dealing with currently, which is why the suicide rate in military and first responders is so high. Um, I mean, I was to the point a few times, man, where I was at a low, and I mean, can't say that the thought ain't never crossed my mind, but I know I can't do that. I'm
Yeah.
selfish, because that's what it is. It's a relief for you, but it's a pain and burden on your
It's
family to know that you did
Yep,
this.
it's taxing on everybody else. It's like
Yeah,
you're gone, but you're not thinking about what's going to happen now that you're gone. All those people who cared about you and everything, how they're going to deal and what effects. For every action, there's a reaction. I mean, the reaction of you doing something like that can be detrimental to those that you care about. It might even lead to some of them one day in their own life.
exactly, exactly. Because I mean, you do see that where
Hmm.
someone you're close with, you kill yourself, and then next thing you know, within a year, they done committed suicide also because of the
Yep.
pain you caused.
Yeah.
So it may be an easy way out, but yet it's still unfair to everyone else, and it that's just something I could never deal with. That's a fact I couldn't. Like I said, anybody that's ever dealt with them, I know it's crossed their mind once, but you just staying strong to make sure you don't do that is the goal.
Facts, facts, facts. So I got a
Right.
couple questions for you, Stephen.
All right, brother, go ahead with them.
So with Mr. Nobody, do you think that Mr. Nobody was a product of feeling incomplete from your twin passing?
Well, like I said, I was so young then. It is possible, man, because like I said, it always feels like there's something that's missing.
Hmm.
I never had any siblings. I was the only child because of that, because of the complications my mom had. She couldn't have any more children after me.
Okay.
Yeah, so I never had any siblings, and then for the first few years of my life, I didn't have any close cousins, because I've got some cousins now that they're a few years younger than me, and we grew
Hmm.
up like siblings. But at that point in time, they wasn't even born yet. So I think Mr. Nobody was somebody that my mind created at the time to fill a gap that I had, a void that was there, because I believe even at a young age, I kind of knew, I mean, for several months, there was somebody with me, while I was in the womb, and then he passed. I mean, I was a little over 3 months premature. I spent the first 3 or 4 months
all.
in the hospital. I was under 2 pounds when I was born, man. I could fit
Oh,
inside a
dang.
box. Yeah, yeah.
It's like a whole trimester early.
Yeah, man, and that's what I'm saying. And so at one point before being born, there was somebody
Mm-hmm.
with, and then I guess afterwards, I mean, they say children don't know, but I mean, a baby's brain starts developing, and so I get,
I think a child gets their consciousness within like 7 weeks in the womb.
yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Me and him or her. I always say he. I always say it was a twin brother, but I don't know. I don't know whether I was identical or not. But I just know that they said that I was supposed to have been a twin, and that she had lost the child, and then because like I said, it was all kind of complications, and I come out
Yes.
breech. I come out breech with the umbilical cord wrapped around my neck, everything else, man.
Cheese and bread.
Yeah.
You are a miracle baby for real.
Actually, yeah. Me and my mom almost both died, when she gave birth to me. So, yeah.
I bet she called you her little angel, her little
Yeah.
miracle.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I mean,
but that's what I think Mr. Nobody was, man. Like I said, even subconsciously at that young of an age, I think I knew I wasn't supposed to be alone, and he gave me somebody to talk to, somebody to play with, and everything else. So
that's nice. That is
yeah,
nice. So I mean, even as a child, we know, like you don't know, but you have that feeling,
and hell, who knows, man? It could have just been an angel that was sent to play with me.
Yeah, that is a blessing. And I mean, how you had said before, like you didn't really tell anybody about the situation that you had gone through, but you felt like your mother, she knew. I'm like, mothers have that intuition. My sister, she was going through some stuff, and my mom had a clue that she was going through some stuff. And mothers have that intuition; they can tell when something's wrong with their baby, with their
Yeah,
child.
yeah. And
I would,
my mom always knew that, man. Even up until she passed, just a phone call, and she could tell in my voice, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "Nothing." Don't lie to me. They
yo, yo.
always had that intuition.
And I mean, like with me being a parent now, being a parent, I have it too. I can feel it too. I can tell like when something's up with my kids or even with my partner.
Yeah,
I'm just like, and it sucks because it really hurts you inside when they tell you nothing, but you know that there's something wrong. And now it's like for me, I'm questioning. I'm like, okay, is it that bad that you can't tell me, or are you embarrassed of it, or do you feel like you can't speak to me? So a lot of things go through my mind.
oh, I get the same thing, man. I mean, you got to remember, I got 7 kids, 6 that grew up with me, and I got 4 that stay with me now. Matter of fact, my baby just turned 8 on the 3rd, on the 6th, and
This month?
yeah, this month,
Oh,
and
snap.
yeah, so and then the oldest one that's living with me is 14, and well, he's the main one. Yeah, he shuts down and he won't talk. You can tell something's wrong, man. I could probably take a bat and beat him half to death, and he still won't tell me what's wrong because he's just that stubborn.
I mean, he's at that teen years where it's just like you're trying to figure it out.
Yeah,
Where it's like you're defiant because you think you might get in trouble if you say something, but then at the same time, if you don't say something, you're gonna get in trouble. So it's like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, regardless. And then at the same time, you have so much pride and ego, you think you can figure it out yourself. So it's like you know what it was like being a teenager.
yeah, and then, but kids these days, they're a lot different than when I was, when I was 14, and
Mm-hmm.
so because I mean, hell, I was 14 at what, and then 91. You know, that's
Okay, I was about to say, I was like, that's a rhetorical question, right? I can't answer that.
yeah, yeah. I was sitting there thinking, yes, yes. I mean, I was 14 in 91. You know, and it's whole different era, man, whole different time. And
Oh
you,
yeah,
kids these days, it's I don't know, they deal with a lot more. I
they
guess.
deal with it differently than how we would, though.
Oh yeah, yeah. And the
I
way
mean, you got to think.
society
Go,
teaches them totally different now than what it taught us back then. You know.
facts.
But that's
So I have another question for
that'd
you.
be another story.
I mean, we can get into that story too. Shoot. But I'm gonna go ahead and ask these questions pertaining to this story
Yeah, that's
first.
fine. Yeah.
Why do you think most families feel the need to hide or gaslight molestation within a family from a family member?
You know, I'm gonna be honest, and I don't know. I know once again, like I said, I've been in interracial relationships for a long time too. And I know it's on
Hmm.
both sides. You know, a lot of people say, "Oh, that incest stuff's white. That's white people," but no, it's on both sides. And you know, African American families or Black families, they have it happen and they hide it too.
Yeah.
Just like the whites. And so you know, it's not a cultural thing, is what I'm getting at. It's
Hmm.
it's everywhere. And I don't I think it's kind of a shame thing. Um,
Okay.
I don't know, man. Because it would be that's like me if I find out somebody's doing something right now, especially
Yeah.
if it happens to one of my kids, I'm not gonna. My mom and dad, I guess, handled it a lot different than I would now. And I think it's got a lot to do with me being a victim. But if my kids was to come to me and say, so, you know, somebody did this, I'll probably be rocking orange. You know.
And I know exactly what you mean because, in all honesty, it took my family for me not to be in an orange.
Yeah.
But yeah, like with my family, we had a situation. It wasn't with the kids though. But I mean, in time, I'm gonna end up telling my story for the Speak the Truth as well because I'm like, we all have stories, and I mean, I've got a lot of stories also. Things that I have seen, that I've witnessed, that have actually been pertained to me. A lot of things as well. But what do you think causes victims to kind of become offenders? Looking for truth, transformation, and a little divine inspiration? Then you're exactly where you need to be. Welcome to Divine Time, the podcast where real talk meets real growth. I'm your host, Danli Divine, bringing you raw conversations, spiritual insight, and soul shifting stories that light you up from the inside out. New episodes drop 4 times as strong. We don't say week over here at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so you never have to wait long for your next breakthrough. If you're feeling the vibe, follow the show. Like the content, share the energy, and subscribe so you never miss a divine moment. Tap the link, join the tribe, and help us spread the light one episode at a time. This is your time. This is Divine Time.
You know, it probably goes kind of hand in hand with that last question. The families cover it up, the
Mm-hmm.
families push it under a rug, and in their mind, it's like, oh, well, this happened to me and nobody did anything about it. You know, they kept it hush hush, and it makes them start to prey on the weak, just like they were preyed upon. And that, you know, the ones that get it real bad in their minds, they don't see anything wrong with it. I mean, it's a sickness. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think now you got some of these people that they make it a life choice, you know. Well, some cultures even raise them up to, you know, culturally being with 10, 11, 12-year-old girls or boys is fine, you know, in some cultures when it's not. And I guess, I mean, well, hell, this country was even founded, you know, you go back 100 plus years, well, more than 100 plus years ago now, because we're in 2023, but you go back 120, 130, 140 years ago, even in this country, you know, by the age 12, 13, 14, girls married off and on a farm somewhere being a wife.
True, 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 true. And that's the thing that always got me though. I was like, America has, like, even like right now with the whole thing that's happening in Ukraine, I'm like, America alone has a lot of pedophilia going on, and it seems like they almost are proud about it, especially with a lot of things that they're starting to push through the media and everything now.
Oh man, this country's going to hell quicker than anything. It every day I watch the news. It's like, I'm just sitting there like, okay, we either need those nukes to go ahead and fall or a meteor to come crashing down. I mean, there's ain't no way that we need to even survive with the way this country's going. But back to what you say, the way this country is and the way that, yeah, I mean, you got to look. You got what, Epstein's Island. You got a man that's been arrested for sex trafficking, but ain't the first person been arrested on who he was sex trafficking to. You know, how was he accused of sex trafficking, but yet there is nobody that he actually was selling kids to? There ain't no list of that. So, with that being said, it's got to be some powerful people that must have been on that list for it not to come out. So, yeah, as long as the people that's in power don't see anything wrong with it, they're going to push for that agenda. They're going to push to try to convince the normal person that it's okay. Because that's basically, to me, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to warp everybody's mind into a twisted world to where their agenda is good. Nobody sees any harm with it. So you kind of like, you just fall in line and don't see nothing wrong with it going about your everyday life, when they can reap the benefits and continue to do the things that's immoral or illegal, whatever they can just continue to do it, and the normal person won't see anything wrong with it because they've done normalized it.
And do you feel like America's trying to normalize it? Because I mean, if you look at it, they're making it to where I've read and watched a couple videos to where they have pretty much dang near pornographic material in elementary schools.
Man, to me, America is trying to normalize it, and the people running the country is pushing really hard. I mean, back when we were younger, there were certain things you didn't see on TV. Once again, I've got no problems with transgender. I've got no problems with homosexuals. I've got no problems with any of that. The problem is when you try to shove it down my throat or down my children's throat, or that's the issue. But back when we were younger on TV, you would never see two men kissing on TV. You wouldn't have homosexual relationships. If you did, it was like a quick. It was more of a hidden scene. You might have knew that
Don't
two
ask,
guys.
don't tell.
Yeah, but not like it is now. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
damn near every show or movie you got now, you got a homosexual relationship going on and a homosexual scene. I mean, every show. I mean,
So
I don't care what you watch now. And
that is true.
yeah, so it started. So that's how they started to slowly desensitize people to it. I mean, desensitize them, get them to fall in line. And then now it's gotten to where they've taken it steps further, and they're trying to do it to our kids in school. Oh, if I don't care that you're 5, if you're a little boy, but you really feel like you want to be a little girl, we can help you do that. And you start and that. So it's just, it brings you back to the city of, Sodom and Gomorrah, Babylon in the Bible, these biblical cities that were destroyed for these beliefs. It's almost like what our country's trying to push to make us believe now.
And it's crazy. I actually had a conversation with a woman 2 days ago, and we were talking about how America is pretty much turning into like the Germany of World War II. But also at the same time, I'm like, exactly how you said that these cities were destroyed because of these things. Putin actually had declared war on pedophilia. And I'm not sure if you're tracking the UK, which the reason why they were out there is because the UK was big on child trafficking, sex trafficking, on trafficking in general.
Joe Biden was over there, right?
Yep. Joe Biden had to quickly go and step his feet in there. And I mean, they also had released the Epstein names of the rosters that came to the islands.
Yeah.
And at that same time that they were releasing those lists, they also were talking about how we had another train derailment, and they just shot the China weather balloon, spy balloon out of the air. And I was just like, yo, what the world? But it's
Oh,
it's
and then
it's crazy the fact that
don't forget we had the aliens too. You know, they got to throw that in there.
I don't really care about the aliens right now. At this point,
Try
if
to
the
well
aliens,
round us away from the truth.
yeah, I'm like, if the aliens come and start abductions or start a war, I'm like, you know what, you're saving me from what's about to happen. Because at
Exactly.
this point, I'm just waiting for an EMP to come shut everything off in this country, and then boom, the nukes come right after. So I'm just waiting to go ahead and get that little tingly feeling, and then just be in my next life.
Yeah, but you're exactly right, though, man. You are. If the aliens was to come now, it's not an abduction; it's a rescue mission.
Exactly. Facts on facts. It's like, you know what, you saved me. And I mean, that would actually it would be a happy moment for me. Like even if the aliens came to kill me, because it's something that's unexpected. Like I'm expecting like another country to probably do something. I'm not expecting for like some kind of Anunnaki outer planet things from those from above to come down and do something. So I mean I'd be like, oh, this is new, and then that'd be it. So I wouldn't have a moment of shock. I'm like, wow. But yeah, I mean, earlier you were talking about breaking the cycle. That's ultimately what I want to do with this podcast. Make it to where people know, like, yo, this stuff happens, but we all have a voice, we all have a story. If we speak up, then we can actually start getting other people to speak up as well, so we can actually stop a lot of these things that are happening.
Yeah, that's right, man. It's because if you can't get out and speak your truth and you bottle it up inside, you can't never get past it. As long as you've got it in there bottled up, it's always going to be there. I mean, even if you talk
Facts.
about it and you work through it, it's still going to be there.
I think one of the biggest things that I'm trying to
All
do
right, you
is
there?
get people. Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, I'm sorry. I had a phone call come through and it cut me off.
Oh, I heard everything that you had said, but
Okay.
what I was saying was ultimately what I want to try and do is just get people to tell their story so that way they can really realize, like, you know what, you're not a victim, you're a survivor. Because
Exactly.
if you keep going around thinking that you're a victim, you're going to constantly be putting yourself down, feeling a type of way. If you recognize that you're a survivor, you're recognizing how much power you have over this, and that situation, that instant, does not define you as an individual.
Oh, that's the 100 right there, man. You know, I didn't let it victimize me. You know, I could have been one of these kids like you got now, all through school, you bottled up, scared, bullied, picked upon because of how you. But I never let it. I never let it bother me after that, man. I went through school. Now I was kind of a loner. I didn't really have a crowd, but that was just because of me. I I'm kind of all things to all people. I can I can come chill in any neighborhood with any ethnic group, and
Mhm.
they're gonna, I can vibe with anybody. I'm
That's what's
not,
up.
yeah, it's not like, oh, I could chill with a redneck, or I could chill with a thug down on the street corner, and I can sit there and have a conversation with them, and we dap it up afterwards and leave. No matter what it is. I mean, I I never had one side that I actually hung out with. I didn't have a group. I just, if I liked somebody, I'd chill with them. Whatever. But so through school, that's about the only kind of loner I was. I didn't let things bother me, victimize me, keep it to where I was a lost little kid, through school. I tried to stay happy, push through. And like I said, I think it's because of that support that I got from my mom and my family. But like I said, still, it wasn't really talked about afterwards. So I still had that there, but I didn't let it define who I was, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. I didn't let it change me from me. So I guess that's why I chose the path I did, instead of, like some people do, to where they become offenders, or they become
Mhm.
suicide victims. I just took my own path.
That is
And
very honorable of you.
yeah.
So
Uh,
if you know the things that you know now, you can go back in time. What would you tell your younger self?
Prior to being molested, I would make sure I
Hmm.
talked to my younger self, to, even if I could, because honestly, I don't remember my parents having that conversation with me. Probably because, like I said, we was on family property. We lived at the back. I wasn't in school yet. So just like a lot of parents, they felt I was safe because it was just family.
Yeah.
When that's not always the case. Sometimes the family is the ones you got to worry about. But so I don't remember. Now I know after that, I remember my mom having to talk with me about the inappropriate touching or things along those lines. But so if I could go back, I'd probably explain that to my younger self and even tell him that if it does happen, you're not to be at fault. You didn't do anything wrong if it does happen, kind of thing. But I'd go back and try to explain to that, once again, I'd be talking to a 3-year-old, but I just try to have that talk. Cause like I said, I think that's where a lot of families, they teach it in school now. I had a conversation with a grandparent actually the other day, and how the school's teaching their 7-year-old inappropriate touching. And she said that, she was telling, I think she said her grandchild was like 7, and she was telling him that she needed to wash his hair. And she was about to try to wash his hair in the bathtub because he didn't want to wash it. And he's like, no, Gigi, that's inappropriate touching. You can't touch me like that. The school said that's inappropriate touching. And she's like, boy, I'm your grandmother. I'm just going to wash your hair. Don't make me spank you. And he's like, no, it's my body, my choice. Now, what kind of crap is that for a 7-year-old to be saying?
I mean, that
But
is
that's
good that
what
the
the school.
child knows, but to the grandma, like,
Yeah.
she's just trying to wash her hair. She's not like, hey, I need to
Yeah.
wash your privates or anything like that. Like, it's your head. Like,
Yeah.
it's your atama. Come on now.
Yeah. But the schools are teaching it with everything. They're teaching that. And I don't know. More parents need to explain it to their children, I guess. Well, this day and time, it's not as bad as it was, like I said, when I was younger, because it was always, I guess, a family secret. You know, certain things you don't discuss, certain things.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. And like I said, not just my family, but lots of other families. And like I said, when we was discussing that, the same conversation I had, is why do you think that a lot of that happens, or a lot of incest happens, a lot of this? And it's like I told them, I said, culturally, you got to look back in the ancient times. Rome, they were built upon, and incest was crazy in Rome, homosexuality was crazy, mass orgies, I mean, that was just their culture. And then when you come to the English and everything, they actually did incest to try to keep the bloodline pure, so that the royal bloodline, it stays pure. So for centuries, it's been part of culture and families throughout the world's history. And I don't know if that's what influences a lot of things to this day still in people's minds, or with family mindsets on discussing things like this with their kids. I don't know, man. It's fucked up is what it is. And I don't know any other way to put it.
I
But
agree. It is fucked up.
yeah, so I mean, that, like I said, that goes back to the question of why do I think, and I don't have the answer to that. I think it's a mixture of centuries and centuries worth of brainwashing handed down from generation to generation. I guess that's about the best way to push it.
Okay. And I mean, that makes sense. The generation to generation, because the generations are constantly being affected by things by others. What I mean by that is you'll have a child who gets molested, and maybe they don't end up getting talked to about what had happened because they don't know really what's right and wrong at that time yet.
Yeah.
It never really was taught to them, and now it's like they possibly could think that, okay, well, it happened to me and it was okay, so must be how things are. It was kind of like how earlier you said that, I'm guessing you had an individual who was talking to you, like, was trying to make it seem like a 3-year-old was leading them on because they
Yeah.
smiled. I mean, like, that person might have had something happen in the past where okay, this must be normal, or maybe he was on a true Pretty Ricky age is nothing but a type scene. I don't know. But
Yeah, exactly.
it's wild. The generations are so different. Like when we were coming up, television, like the cartoons and stuff that were on TV, we had no idea about some of the things that was going on in there. But when we go back and look at those cartoons as adults, we're like, yo,
Oh yeah,
the
man.
fudge. Like
All of the hidden messages in there now.
yeah. And that's the thing. Like back then it was hidden messages. Now it's just straight in your face. Like back then you mess around, have and in one of the TV shows, you'll have like they'll open the door and it's like the two guys and they're coming out of the closet. And they're just like, what happened there? And it's like, the mop fell over and I couldn't reach it and give some kind of excuse. But as an adult, you're like, okay, I know what's going on. But kids, they're just like, oh, okay. They don't think anything of it. But now it's like that, let's say in this day and age, if it was that TV show that was like that, it would be they open the closet door and you got two dudes in there full on making out, and then they try and make an excuse. And so now it's like being pushed into your face, and therefore it's causing the generations to really be aware of these things, which is also at the same time, I feel, what's the word I'm looking for, affecting their own thoughts and decisions, because now it's like this is being put in their face to where now they're thinking it's okay, normalizing it.
It shouldn't be normalized. It
Yes.
should be something that they have to realize for themselves and make that life choice for themselves. But now it's being normalized so much that they go down the wrong path before they even actually know what they want.
Yeah, and that right there would tie into a lot of kids saying that they're transgender when they're young, and then like their parents allowing them to get like sex changes and stuff. And now it's at the point where there's so many people who end up reaching like their teen years and stuff and end up killing themselves because they realize they made a mistake. They realize that they made a mistake and like, okay, I don't really want to be a girl, or I don't really want to be a guy, and now they can't do anything about it. And now in the country, they're actually starting to they're banning that, making it legal for any doctors to do a sex change on children. And if they end up finding out, they can get sued and also get put in for malpractice. So, I mean, I'm glad that that's starting to happen, but still, I'm like, I think it still should be, you should actually be an adult, like the age of 18 or older, to where you can really truly make your own decisions. Because at that time, you think you know what you want, but you haven't had enough life experience for the most part. I mean, there's some situations to where you have, but for the most part, you haven't had enough life experience to really know what is right, what is wrong, and what is really good and bad yet.
Oh, exactly. I mean, I agree that. Hey, you got to look. I got a lot of homosexuals in my family, man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I do. I got bisexuals in my family. I mean, hell, my oldest daughter, she's bisexual, and she didn't feel that she could come forth and tell me. When she was younger, she didn't. I don't know what made her feel that way, but she didn't think that she could come forth and tell me that she was gay. And I think it was because of religious background.
Okay.
But hey, if that's who she is, that's who she is. I don't have issues. Like I said, once again, I'm not transphobic. I'm not homophobic. I don't have issues with any of that. What I have issues with is, just like you said, is with a society that's trying to push for it and shove it down your throat and teach your children. I mean, because you got some little boys that might be kind of feminine. That don't mean they're gay, but they're just soft. I mean, they're just soft-hearted. But as soon as the wrong person in school sees it, oh, well, you're gay. Maybe you're a little girl that's trapped inside of a boy's body, and we can help you. And then they brainwash this kid, basically think, hey, maybe they're right. Maybe I am a little girl.
Yeah. Maybe something is wrong with me.
Exactly. Yeah. And same thing with females. You got some little girls that's tougher than little boys, and well, maybe a boy, girl's body, and so basically society ends up brainwashing these kids before they even know what they are. When they're 17, 18 years old, they decide, I like girls and I am a girl, so I must be gay. and they realize that is the life they want to live. Hey, that's on them, you know.
Yeah.
But you can't let a 5-year-old make that choice. I mean, you can't. But like you say, society pushes it on them now to where to me, it brainwashes. They're brainwashing the children into going with their outlook on things. You know, it's like a woman. Once again, I watched TikTok, and the woman was saying she was having a conversation with a transgender male, and conversation was good. You know, she was really vibing with him, and they were getting along. And he called her, I can't remember what it was, she gender or something like that. I guess that cisgender. There you go. He called her a cisgender, and she's like, no. She's like, you know, please just refer to me as female. She's like, I'm female.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you must be transphobic. And then he just flipped on her. So you wanted her to use the proper pronouns for you, but as soon as she asked you to identify her with what she is,
yeah,
oh, that's wrong.
Yeah,
You know?
it's wild. I'm like, people feel that you need to respect them, but yet they don't need to respect you, or that you need to respect them, but they don't need to respect you. Like it's weird. Like I've dealt with that a little bit when I was in Washington. You'll have like people from the LGBTQ community, not all of them, honestly, very few, because I mean it's big out there. I've dealt with a lot of them. Love them to death. They're a lot of fun. But some would end up being upset if you can tell them like, oh yeah, you're trans, whatever, with the woo. But then when they ask you and you just stick with the regular, like he, she, then they're just like try and force upon you the other pronouns, and it's just like, look, I'm comfortable with he. Like I don't need to be all this extra stuff, because there's so many labels out these days, so many titles and labels. It's like it's hard to keep track of. The only reason I knew what you were talking about with cisgender was because you said she. You were like she gender. I was like cis. I still don't even know what the heck that means, to be honest with you. I'm like, you got cisgender. You got.
That was the first time I heard of it.
I've heard of it because when I was on OK Cupid back in the day, it was all over there. Like you'd have people saying queer, and I was like, what the hell is queer? And I was like, okay, so that's just really the eccentric people. I was like, then you got trans, but then that breaks down to trans male, trans female. Then you also have the pre-op, post-op. So it's like that whole thing is a little confusing for me, because it can get you in trouble if you're like, oh, you're trans, okay, pre-op, post-op. And then in my mind, I'm like, okay, so you haven't transitioned yet if you're still pre-op, because you still got all the normal things you were born with. So really you're just a cross-dresser at this point, right? But that's how it is in my mind. But they don't like it when they don't like hearing that. And then with it, like even with the bi and the gay, I'm like, okay, but bi is you like both genders, but you still like the same gender, so you're gay, right? No. Gay is you only like the same gender. Bi means I like both. But you're still gay. You still like the same gender.
Still a form of being gay. Yeah. Back when we were young, that's all it was. Either you were straight or you were gay. There wasn't no in between.
But now it's getting so complicated. I'm like, I can't keep up with all that. I was like, I feel like I got to literally go and take a course to understand what the heck majority of this is. But I'm like, look, okay, cool. You are what you are. Like I'm at that point. I'm like, okay, you are what you are. And they're like, oh, I'm this. I'm like, all right, cool. And then I'll address them to what they want to be addressed. And I'm like, I'm a guy. I go by he, exactly. Him. Yeah. I was like, I leave it at that. It's easy for me to remember. I don't want to deal with all that extra stuff. But I mean, even so, like, it's getting wild. But they do what they do, and I mean, they have the freedom and the right to express themselves however they want. But again, just allow people to make their own decisions. Don't try and force it upon them.
Oh, exactly, man. And that's what our country is good for. You know, you said it a while ago that you and the lady were having a conversation how America is basically the Germany of world, the World War.
World War II.
And that's the truth. That's the truth of the matter. And I've been saying it. America is the bad guy in this situation.
I'm glad you can see that.
Yeah, America is the bad guy with everything that's going on right now. America is the bad guy. It's a shame you got to say Putin is actually, he might be the good guy trying to save people.
Yeah, he really is.
And when you watch it, I mean, he's making these
Valid
Media
points.
reports. He's doing all this media stuff where he's rescuing all of these children out of Ukraine. But and Ukraine's issued warrants for him for kidnapping, or the UN they've issued warrants for him for kidnapping.
Yep.
And making him a war criminal.
Seem as a bad person. Yeah.
Yeah. But then too, once again, and I hate to keep bringing up TikTok, but I think TikTok is a tool that everybody's using right now that we're allowed to see the truth.
Yeah,
Because
that's why they're trying to ban TikTok in America.
Exactly. That's the real reason they want to get rid of TikTok, is because
the 12 families don't have control over it.
Exactly. They can't. We're not following their agenda that the media is being told to tell us.
Yeah, they don't have power.
And it takes that power away from them.
Facts on facts.
Basically, it was one TikTok. It was a country over in Ukraine, and they're saying how Putin and them were bombing it the night, and it shows them, and they're sitting there watching this on the news, and they're in the damn city that they just said got bombed, and they pan their camera out the window, and it's like downtown in the square. Everything looks like a normal day, but yet, according to the news reports that's going on, they've been being bombarded by missiles all night, and there's no destruction, no smoke, no sirens, no fires. There's nothing out there to indicate what the news was showing. So
living by fear.
Yeah, so it's the news is showing the world one thing when that's not the truth. It's taken away. Putin, and honestly, Putin's trying to pull away from what they're trying to do, which is that one world order. He's trying to get rid of that, And I mean, you got to look, as far as America being the bad guy, look at how our allies are starting to pull away from us.
Oh yeah.
France done said, of course it's the French, but France done said, hey, no, we ain't getting involved with this. We got Brazil now that's going to join up. They're in talks with joining that the money currency thing with Russia and China and all these other places. All the Arabias, Saudi Arabia, all of them over there, man. They're wanting to ban us from getting any of their oils, and it's because they realize, hey, we've been doing deals with America for so long, but it's evil. They're realizing they've got their own agenda. This is something that we don't need to be part of, and they're all trying to pull away from that. And it just goes to show, America's trying to twist everybody's mind, and people are waking up to it. They're realizing, no, this isn't the way.
I wanna go ahead and ask one final question to tie up this episode. What would you say to any of the listeners that have possibly gone through any type of sexual or any type in general?
I would tell them to hold their head up high no matter what. Stay strong. Find some type of support, whether it be religious support in some kind of groups, or paid psychiatrist, or good friends, someone. Don't keep it bottled up inside. Find someone that you can count on, that's going to be there for you, and trust. Tell them your story. Get it out. Pop that top on that bottle and let it out, so that the healing can begin. Even if you've went down the wrong path and you've become an addict, or you've realized, took your body for granted and sold your body, or different things that can cause. If you took that path, it's not too late. You can start healing yourself no matter what. I got a friend that's on Facebook, and man, I'm proud of her. She was on meth and everything, man, but she's always posting how she's reached this mark in her life where she's been clean for this many days. She's been clean for this many days, and she goes to church and stuff now. She went the religious route, and everybody ain't gonna go the religious route. And to tell you the truth, once again, you heard me say a while ago how my daughter didn't feel she could come to me because of religion and our background. I don't even go the religious route anymore, because once again, even religion and these churches, they got their own agendas, and it's wrong, so I'm not
Yep.
saying that it's got to be a religious route or a church. It's whatever they feel, but they need to find an outlet. They need to find someone they could talk to, someone that they could, like I said, pop the top on that bottle and let it out and start that healing process. Because they have to be ready. You got to be ready to start the healing process before you can heal. And that's the same thing with anything, even drug addicts or whatever. You can keep them clean for 6 years. And if they want to fall off that wagon, they're going to fall off that wagon unless in their mind, they're ready. So you got to be ready for that process to heal, or you'll never be able to heal. But you got to find an outlet to do it. You can't just keep it bottled up. So, that would be my thing. You got to talk to someone. You got to work through the issue and try to better yourself, because you can. Once you hit rock bottom, the only way you can go is up. And
Facts on facts.
But and you find somebody that helps to lift you up. Everybody needs help. Everybody needs help.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what their status is. Somebody's helped them along the way. And so you find that person that you can depend upon to help you and build yourself back up. And that's the only way to truly get over any type of, whether it be sexual, physical, any type of that you've gone through, mental. You do it that way. Drugs isn't always the answer. I'm talking about prescription drugs also, because big pharma, that's biggest drug dealer there is out there. But
yeah,
even prescription medications, man, these even if it was prescribed by psychiatrists or doctors, I'm not saying that they're bad things, but people get misdiagnosed all the time and get prescribed these medicines that they really don't need. And some people do need medicine. I mean, I deal with mental health all the time with my job, man. And, I see people that actually need help that don't get the help, and people that you can flat out tell are faking get the help. But, on that point, like I said, it sometimes opening up and releasing that through conversation helps more than any medicine or anything else, is the point I'm trying to get to. And so basically finding some kind of therapy through talk, and like I said, however, religion, church, preacher, psychiatrist, however, best friend, spouse, significant other, however, though, find someone that you can talk to and get that out of you, because talking it through and telling your story and working it through is the best way.
Blessings. Thank you for that, Steven. And I mean, I hope that anybody who was listening was touched with this. You got good information. And I mean, if you want to tell your story, you can reach out to me as well. But yes, thank you. Thank you for that, Steven. I'm going to go ahead and end it on that.
I appreciate it, man.
Hey, beautiful souls. If you love deep conversations about life, love, and spiritual growth, help us reach more like-minded people. Like, comment, and share to push these powerful episodes through the algorithm. Let's build a community that thrives on wisdom and connection. Find us everywhere. YouTube at Danli_Divine. Facebook and Kick at Divine Time Podcast. And also follow the blog, divinetime.blog. If you're looking for your soul tribe, join our Telegram group, Warriors of Love. Together we rise. Divine Time is now.